One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
Today, we have a guest on who is pretty famous in the widow wives community for people who joined in a certain time period. He is affectionately known as the Fitted Sheet Man because once he gave us a fitted sheet tutorial on one of our Zoom calls. Now, if you've joined the Widow Wives Club after this time, you might be thinking, what? But we want to give you a chance to meet our guest today. Tell us your name.
My name is Dennis Brozzo, and I'm a longtime fan of Mel and Anita.
What is it? Long-time listener, first-time caller?
Exactly. Yes. And Mel and Anita, just real quick, want to say thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to be here and support the community. So, yes, longtime fan.
Thanks for volunteering to be on here.
Hey, my pleasure. I was just having a conversation this morning about the two of you and what you've done in the community, and it's just absolutely awesome. I found you guys in early 2021, right after Michelle passed. Michelle passed in 2020, and I can't thank you enough. Your wild craziness is exactly what I needed, and it helped and saved me. So thank you again.
That's amazing. Dennis, back up and tell us where you live and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So where do I live? I live in San Francisco, native, born and raised. Lived here most of my life. Still live in the same neighborhood I grew up in, which is a lot of fun. I know, crazy, right? I'm a unicorn, as I tell people. A little bit about myself. So I spent a lot of years in the corporate structure. I was working in the corporate structure of high tech when I met Michelle, and did that for a lot of years. And after Michelle's passing, completely pivoted my life. And now, because of that experience and even one of your episodes with Coach Shauna, I came to the realization in my own life that my true calling was being a coach to people who are going through crisis.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dennis. Okay, wait. First, can I ask a question? You said that you were working in high tech. I didn't know there was high tech and low tech. What is high tech versus low tech? Is low tech like an Etch-a-Sketch?
So I'm dating myself here. Nowadays, there's no difference between high tech and low tech. But when I was a kid and my dad was working in high tech, it was the difference between, like, you worked for IBM, Hewlett Packard, or you worked for, a company that made pinball machines. So I should just say tech. I worked in tech for 26 years.
I would rather make the pinball machine. Pinball machines are so cool. And also they're very expensive and you cannot buy one. Just so you know.
I'll play the pinball machine. How about that? We have a high tech, a low tech, and a tester.
Perfect.
Okay, well, we didn't know this about you, Dennis.
Yeah. We've been talking to you for all this time, and we had no idea you changed careers and all sorts of things. So
yes, change careers, and you are all part of that. Coach Shauna is part of that. There's going to be a story here coming up that talks about that. We're going for a wild ride. We got 20 years to cover, so it's going to be fun.
And also, you're a fellow musician.
Yes, yes. I play saxophone and clarinet. I primarily the saxophone. Learned the clarinet when I was 10. Play the saxophone now. Still have my old clarinet, and I've been trying to teach myself flute. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah,
you have to play the clarinet before you learn the saxophone? Isn't that like the progression
In band, in junior high band.
in junior high band?
that was my progression. Yes, yes. The band teacher had like 11 clarinet players and 3 saxophone players, and he said, "Dennis, you look like a sax player.
You
Let's move you to
look like
sax."
Which saxophones do you play?
Well, technically, I can play any of them because they're almost all identical. They just a different key or octave. But primarily, I play the alto, and secondarily, I play the soprano.
So you're basically Kenny G with a different hairstyle.
the opposite hairstyle.
Yes, I'm Kenny G with no hair.
Uh, this is very niche. Sorry, people who don't care. Sopranino sax and contrabass sax. Have you ever been in the same room with either of them or played them?
I have not played them, but last year, over New Year's of 24, 25, my current wife and I were on vacation in London, and I went to sax.co.uk, which is, for anybody who's in music, is one of the like biggest, most popular saxophone stores on the planet. And they have them all from the Sopranino to the contrabass. They're a saxophone store. They're known globally. Yeah. So I've been in the same room.
Wow. Okay, for those who are like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Give us a primer.
The Sopranino sax looks like a toy. Little baby.
Mhm.
It looks like a little alto sax, right? Is that the one? Yeah. Tiny. Tinier than tiny.
I want that
And
one.
contrabass, don't you have to wheel it in? It's like on wheels and you have to push it around. It's so big and just it sounds like farts.
Yeah, I've not played all of them, but I've touched. So I held a contrabass and I held a sopranino.
Okay, what about the
Wow.
toy, the Mr. Sax toy? Have you ever seen that? Have you played that guy?
No. Mm-mm.
Have you seen Jack
Only
Black play it on the Jimmy Fallon show, the Tonight
I
Show?
did not. I've only
Oh,
played the real thing.
that's really funny, actually. You should Google that. Okay, Dennis, now that we have your sax credentials, why don't we rewind and take us back to the beginning of Michelle and Dennis?
Okay, yeah. So I met Michelle originally in 2006. We met through mutual friends, and we immediately hit it off. It was magic and sparks and all things wonderful. For me personally, I was going through some, challenges in a breakup, and she came into my life, and I was just like, oh my God, this is what like real, true, actual love is. And, you know, it was all sparks. First woman I ever said I love you to outside of my mother. 6 months into the relationship, I knew that she was my forever person. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. And the first time I said I love you to Michelle, I wrote it on an Etch-a-Sketch.
No, you did not.
I
Did you
did.
really?
Stop!
Mel, you're a prophetess. That was the low-tech part of his story.
You guys, there's something super freaky weird that has happened a lot of times when we're recording or we're gonna that it all has to do with the widowed community stuff. And sometimes there's things that come out of our mouths that we would never say, or it's like totally random, or something happens with the tech. That was so weird. That was one of them. The last time I said Etch a Sketch was probably when I used one when I was 9.
1997.
Yeah. Or in high school, 1987. Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
cow.
it was interesting. And where that came about is Michelle was very pro relationship, but she was anti marriage. So technically, we were never legally married, but we lived our relationship like a married couple. And she always said the quickest way to scare me away is to ask me to marry you or tell me you love me too soon. So I wrote it on when I truly felt it in my heart, I wrote it on the Etch-a-Sketch and put it on her bookshelf. And she discovered it at just the right time because when she saw it, she was like, yeah, perfect. Said perfectly, perfect channel, everything.
Non-confrontational. But Dennis, if you've ever writing on Etch-a-Sketch seems like it should be easy. It's actually hard. How many times did you have to shake it and start over?
I got it the first time, and being a saxophone player, I have good dexterity. So patience. It took me like 20 minutes to write it, but yeah, got it the first time.
See, kids, this is why music lessons are important.
I'll tell my
Absolutely.
youngest.
Absolutely. Yes. And the other reason she said yes to me is I was the only guy she ever brought home that her cat Simon liked. On our second date, he climbed up on my chest and started to purr. And Michelle basically said, yeah, okay, Simon picked him. That's it. We found the one. So the pets know, the animals know,
Especially when it's
100%.
a cat. They're very choosy.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we just had a fun relationship. We both lived in San Francisco. We had a ton of fun. And then about a year into the relationship, Michelle expressed to me her deepest desire, which was to be a jewelry designer. At the time, she was working in nonprofit HR. And I said, okay, what do we need to do to make that happen? So I helped her start her first jewelry design business. And we built that together for the next 5.5 years or so that she could eventually transition out of nonprofit and become a full-time jewelry designer and live her dream as a jewelry designer and jewelry maker. That went till about 2011, and then she parlayed into a different company, shut down the first company, opened the second company, and she was a jewelry designer up until the end. So one of the most beautiful things about her life is she got to live her childhood dream. When she was like 5, she knew she wanted to be a jewelry designer. So that was one of the most beautiful things about the relationship is dreams came true. It was awesome.
That's fantastic. I would not be a good jewelry designer because I lack the creativity needed for it. But my son is in a jewelry class in high school right now. He hates it, but I am wearing a ring that he made right there. So
Why didn't we get to make jewelry in high
I know we
school?
didn't.
Because we had low tech.
Yeah, he hates it because the teacher only likes the girls. That's what he tells me all
Okay.
the time. So Dennis, this means that you have like a physical footprint. That's not the right, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like you have things that she left behind. Her creations live on after she's gone, which is maybe really cool or maybe sometimes a little bit hard. I don't know.
It's actually both. I still have her entire portfolio of samples that she had when she got sick. And it was only about 6 months ago on the fifth anniversary of her passing that I finally organized her jewelry studio, which is just 3 feet on the other side of the wall where I'm sitting now in my home office. Literally, her bench, her jewelry bench, laid in state for 5 years before I got around to reorganizing everything. So, yes, there's a huge footprint in my home of Michelle and her creations and her books and her tools. And I have a whole wall of tools.
That's what I was going to ask you about, Dennis, because I think we were on the Patreon Zoom a couple times
Mhm.
ago, and I thought that you mentioned that you had made some tools for her. Is that what you were telling us that day?
Yes, yes. One of the fun magic parts about our relationship is I was kind of a creative sounding board for her. So she would come up with an idea. She would source out, okay, how do I make it? She would discover, oh, a tool does not exist. So she'd come to me and we'd kick the idea around and I would make a tool for her from scratch. I would get out, my metal and woodworking tools and I'd make tools for her. Or display materials when she went to trade shows. Her whole booth and all the displays I made. So we were a creative synergy that worked together, which was a whole lot of fun.
I love hearing pieces of your story because you said earlier that she said she wanted to be a jewelry designer, and you said, well, let's make that happen. That's not always common in a relationship. It's usually like, well, what makes the most sense? And that's a supportive partner. Kudos to you
Oh, well, thank
for being
you.
that person. That's amazing. And I also, secondly, think that you need to hang out with Anita's dad because he also has tools and makes
Oh
things.
my
You guys might
goodness.
explode together.
Oh, we will instantaneously combust.
Which is also true because his house is just full of sawdust.
Yeah.
Dennis, How do you feel about bowls?
And clocks.
Love them both, and we can do them both in wood and metal. Your choice.
Oh, that's what he does, both wood and metal. He's got the wood shop on the one side and then the metal shop on the other side. So
If you're ever in need of a platonic partnership,
my mom might be like, huh.
maybe she'll support
No,
it for a
actually,
day.
she would be really excited, I think.
Yeah. It would keep Randall busy. I think
Yeah.
they'd be best friends. And then I'd have to give up my best friend, but that's fine.
Mm,
I support it. Wow.
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stop by on occasion. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Stop on into Utah. My dad will give you a bowl
Just
and then
don't tell him that you love him.
Okay.
the etch a sketch. I don't know how that'll work. Okay. Back to Michelle and Dennis.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. So we built these, we built these businesses together. We were living together. And basically our life was just all this fun of art and jewelry. And I was working, hold down the fort and pay the bills. And she was working to build her jewelry company and become profitable. And then 2019, she started to get sick. It was February of 2019. She started to complain of some abdominal pains, like cramping, like symptoms of like an ulcer. So she was a tough cookie. She was a very strong-minded and strong fortitude woman who was like, oh, it hurts, but I'll get over it, right? So this went on for a few weeks, and eventually she had an incident where she got really sick and collapsed, and I called 911, had the ambulance take her to the hospital, and the hospital did, just some basic x-rays. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. So they sent her home. They said, oh, it's probably an ulcer, because that's what it presented like. So they sent her home, made an appointment with her GP. The following Monday morning, she's getting ready, gets out of the shower, she's doing her hair, faints and collapses on the bathroom floor.
Yikes.
I'm flipping out. I call 911 again. We get her in the hospital. We take her to the emergency room. They check her in and they start doing tests. And something's not right. So they're like, okay, let's take you to x-ray. I take her to x-ray. They do her blood work. They start giving her painkillers and this drug and that drug and da-da. And now let's take you to MRI. Let's take you to CAT scan. Let's take you to PET scan. 18 hours later, that very first day, Monday, they come to her and say, you need a blood transfusion of 2 units. Your numbers are completely out of whack. We don't know what to make of your scans. We're checking you in the hospital. So they check her into the hospital. A couple days go by, and this is where this is the roller coaster, right? So I'm going to go through the roller coaster, try to keep us succinct here. Couple days later, they schedule her for an endoscopy, which, if anybody knows, that's where they put the camera down your throat and look, into your stomach and intestines. And they go to do the endoscopy. They seal a lump in there, something weird going on, try to take a biopsy, and they need to put a feeding tube in her. Well, they try to put what's called a J tube, that's the tube in your nose, but they can't get it through. There's something blocking her intestinal tract. So failed attempt on the endoscopy. They do the biopsy. 48 hours later goes by. This is towards the middle end of the first week. We get the cancer diagnosis. They basically say it's ampullary adenocarcinoma. So the short, basic lay translation of that is it's the spot where your bile duct passes through the head of the pancreas and deposits like your bile from your liver and your pancreatic juices into your intestine. So it's right there at the exit of the stomach. There's a tumor and it's blocking her small intestine. She can't eat. The tumor starving her to death. So they try another endoscopy to put the J tube in, failed again. So we go back and forth 2 or 3 days, talking options, surgery. Eventually they put a feeding tube in her arm called a PICC line, which goes into a vein in her arm, and they start getting nutrients in her. And they said, okay, well, we can do surgery. It's a major surgery, but it's going to take about a month because your blood work is so out of whack. You're malnourished. We got to feed you. So they get her on a feeding system. We bring her home. We got a few days of calm. So here we are at home. This is only 10 days in, maybe a month since the first symptom. During that second week or that first week after the hospital, more pains. I take her back in. She's got pancreatitis now. So they check her back in the hospital, start treating her for the pancreatitis. Then while she's there, she gets infections in her salivary glands because she can't eat. So this poor Michelle is just going through absolute HE double hockey sticks here.
You better
And
quack that out, Mel. That was
yeah,
bold.
absolutely. So a month after that first visit, they finally do a surgery on her. And for anybody who's ever had a pancreatic issue, it's called a Whipple, which is it's about a 10-hour surgery. They cut you open, spill your guts out, take everything apart, remove all the cancer, put you all back together, put it all back in, and so yeah. So huge major surgery. And at this time, her parents also came into town for the surgery. Her dad was here, her mom was here. There was all kinds of craziness that week. God love them both for being here. And then we finally got her home. So that was just the first month drama of the cancer journey.
Sounds so fun.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I started smoking again to deal with the stress. I had previously been a smoker. I had quit I quit nicotine like 2 months before Michelle got sick. And to deal with the stress, started smoking again. So after Michelle comes home, her mom decided to move in with us. So my mother-in-law moved in, and that was a fun ride. Bless her soul. Her mother-in-law, I thank so much for just unilaterally deciding to move in. Had it been to me and Michelle, up to me and Michelle, we'd have been like, changing the dynamics, da da da. But after the fact, it was great that her mom was there to help us for 6 months while Michelle was recovering. Because I was still working full time. I still had a full time job, right? Got to pay the bills, got to buy the groceries. Somebody's got to do it. So it was great having Michelle's mom there. There was a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And the next twist was a month after the surgery, she went back in for some scans and they discovered 6 new tumors in her liver.
That's so rude.
Yeah, that was brutal because the doctors postulated, can't prove it, but they postulated that the cancer had already metastasized and was laying dormant in the liver, but not detectable. And the trauma of the malnourishment and the surgery just triggered the growth of those cancers. And then we went on to start chemo. And the first 6 months of chemo worked really well. But the key drug that she was giving has a terminal. It's something about the drug where you can only get 6 months worth of it or a certain amount. Otherwise, the chemo does more harm than good.
Yeah. It's basically using enough, it's going to kill you instead. So we can only use it for this period of time. And then we got to try something else.
Exactly. So they took her off that drug, and then it was like holding steady for over a year, but no improvement, right? So we did chemo for a lot of months, every other week, going to the hospital, getting chemo. That was through 2019 into 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and the ride got wild. In fact, we had just finished a chemo treatment. We were driving home, and I was stopping to get a pint of ice cream for her at the Safeway, and I was like, "What's with the traffic? This is crazy. The lines are 50 people deep." That day they had announced that we were in a pandemic. We found out about the pandemic on the way home from chemo.
Oh, that's fun. Jeez.
Yes, that was a train wreck. So it changed the landscape a lot of going to the hospital, doing anything, going out, getting toilet paper. The saving grace is I come from an immigrant family. So if anybody comes from an immigrant family, you know that we're kind of pack rats. So we had every supply under the sun.
Were you allowed to go to the chemo treatments with her when COVID started, or did you have to drop her off and she had to go in alone?
There was a time when I was restricted, when they said no, I could not. Yeah, there was a period where I could not join her. And that was, I think, gosh, that's a great question. I don't remember if it was right at the start of the pandemic or as we were rolling deeper into the pandemic. But yeah, there was a period where I could go in and sit with her in the chemo clinic and hang out with her. And then there was a period where I could only just drop her off, like at the front door. Like I'd have to drop her off the front door of the hospital, call up to the chemo clinic, and they would send a nurse or an orderly down with a wheelchair to come get her curbside.
Did you guys have conversations about what would happen if she died or when she died? Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast
and you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
Some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt. You can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yes, many. We actually played this out. We did no research on what to do next. But along the way, we had many conversations. And when she got her terminal diagnosis in mid-2020, yes, we had all kinds of conversations. You know, do you want to be cremated or buried? What do you want to do with the animals? Who are going to be the guardians of the animals when I pass, if I pass away, right? Because at the time we had 2 cats and a dog. Our dog Winston, whom you've seen on our hangouts, was Mama's little ray of sunshine. He was there at the moment of her passing, so he was in the bedroom with us. So we had conversations of what's continuity look like. Like, who's going to get Winston if I get hit by a bus? Right? Who's going to make all the afterlife decisions? Another thing we did ahead of time was, because we were not legally married, we got a power of attorney, or a durable power of attorney that allowed me to make all the post-life decisions as well.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness you guys did that.
Yes. You know, in California, pretty much if you're legally married, it's carte blanche. The surviving spouse has all powers and rights.
Did you say durable power of attorney?
Yes. So the difference there is a durable power of attorney gives you all the rights and privileges after the person passes away.
So you would only need a regular power of attorney while she's alive and then durable for post-death. Is that correct? Or does the durable encompass everything?
Everything. In California, you can set it up so it's a power of attorney that is durable. So it's before and after, which was great. It definitely made a difference, especially after she passed away. In her final months, one of the deepest, most important conversations we had, and this kind of plays into the whole where I am today piece, is one afternoon, I can't remember if it was June or July, something or other of 2020. She called me into the bedroom one afternoon and she sat me down. She says, I want to have a conversation with you. I said, oh, okay, dear. Absolutely. Yes, honey. Whatever you want. So I knelt down next to the bed, holding her hand, and she told me, she said, Dennis, after I'm gone, I want you to find love again. And in that moment, I was like, that is absolute crazy talk. You are the most important human being on this earth to me. And I don't ever want to find love again with anybody. I mean, I said, I love you with all my heart. I will do something in honor of our love, but I have no interest in falling in love again.
Dennis, be honest. Is it because you could not fathom writing I love you on an Etch a Sketch again?
That was part of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just if I'm going to be honest, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard thing to do. Yeah. And where my head was at the time was I realized in that journey of being a cancer caregiver that the medical establishment does a phenomenal job at creating a container around the patient. But for the spouse who's got to like clean up puke on the bedroom floor at 3 o'clock in the morning, the support is not the same, right? So the whether you're a child or a parent or a spouse, in the house, that caregiver, there's no container. So I had it in my head. It was a fuzzy. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I had this desire to say, what am I going to do with the rest of my life to take care of others and help others who are in this crappy dumpster fire situation? How am I going to honor the legacy of Michelle's love and her being there for me and do something good? And it sat with me up to her passing, after her passing. Didn't really spark until after she passed away, but that conversation was the first pivot of what's going to happen in this world so that I can make a difference and I can help her legacy keep going, right? How can I share the love that she gave me and go the next step in life? So yeah, a ton of conversations. She gave me permission to go out there and find love again. And she gave me the mandate to go out and do important things. And she even held me to some certain standards. She knew that I could be a house hermit. So that was one reason she told me to find love. Another ultimatum was that she made me promise that I would live at least one day longer than Winston. So that even in my deepest, darkest hours, I would look at Winston and say, as much as I want to jump off a bridge, I promised Michelle as one of her dying wishes to give this little mama's ray of sunshine the best life I can give him. So she was a smart, wise woman. She knew things could go dark, and she made sure to say what she had to say and made me promise what I had to promise to make sure that the light stayed on.
You did both of those things that you were instructed to do.
So what happened was in October of 2020, Michelle finally passed. It was a pretty beautiful last couple of months because she had the chance to see the people that mattered the most to her. She had a few weeks of visits with friends that were the most important people for her to see. And after the very last visit, she went from being able to visit with people to she's deciding it's like, okay, this is it. In about 7 days, she was gone. She was ready, and it was time. So she passed away in October of 2020. And then I went into the world of widowhood completely alone, empty and isolated. We're at the height of the pandemic, pre-vaccine, everybody's masking. And our social structure was very small. So I had almost no one to call. Michelle and I lived a very bubbled life. So I felt guilty about calling friends and saying, hey, I need someone to talk to. Because I had a lot of friends, but I hadn't kept in touch for a long time. And I looked at the world and I was like, oh, well, everybody, it's a pandemic. Everybody's dying left, right, and center. Everybody's got their own problems. And so that first 6 months was very dark, very lonely. a lot of days where I just went to work, did my work, and it was me and Winston hanging out in an empty house. Yeah, that first 6 months of widowhood was rough, but that's when I found you guys. And the two of you changed my life.
And you still didn't have to leave the house because we were on the internet.
That is exactly right. And the beautiful part about the both of you is when I started to listen to your podcast, I was like, these two are not telling me what to do. They're just sharing their dumpster fire and the dumpster fires of everybody else, just like what I'm going through. And as dark as this is, it's refreshing because we're all just trying to figure it out, right? And I found a deep comfort in that. I didn't have to listen to someone pontificate to me.
We're just all here watching the burning building.
Absolutely. And we're all doing it together and just trying to support each other along the way. 6 to 8 months, I had a couple of magic moments. And I put a post on this back in, I think it was February-ish of 2021. I wrote a long post in the group. And the revelation I had was the pivot from sorrow to joy. So Michelle passed away in October. Her birthday would have been in November, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year's, then my birthday, then our anniversary, then Valentine's Day. All in the first 6 months. Lot of darkness. And then one day I was scrolling through my phone, looking at pictures, and there was a picture of, I think if I remember correctly, it was a picture of me, Michelle, and Winston when Winston was a puppy. And instead of feeling like this horrible, dark sorrow, it pivoted to this feeling of, I remember how happy that was. And I was able to tap into that whole happy side of a memory and happy side of an experience. And that's when, the light of the future started to flicker on. Like, this doesn't always have to be dark and sad. It's legitimate that we all have dark and sad moments. I still have. But there was that pivot where I was like, oh, wow, okay. Widowhood is a lot of things. And there's happiness to it too. And then around that time also, I heard the podcast of Put Me In, Coach. Anita, do you want to expand on that podcast with your sister?
Yeah, it's funny because that podcast has my sister who is a life coach, and if I go back and listen to that episode, I kind of like it's a little bit of the palm to the forehead because we didn't prepare her in any way to come and talk, and when they're just like talk, and luckily she is wise and did a good job, but in hindsight I'm like we could have given her some questions to think about first. But yeah, that's my sister, who's also one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world, and I'm going to text her right now and tell her that you became a life coach after, well, actually I don't know, but that's what I think you did after her episode. So keep going.
Yeah. So after hearing Shauna's podcast, I was seeing a therapist, doing the grief work, and I thought, well, what's this life coach thing do? Right? Because I'm doing the grief work, but I'm also at a point in life where I wake up in the mornings and I open my eyeballs and ask myself the question, what's the point of opening my eyeballs? Why am I even showing up to life? Right? It's a pandemic, not getting out of the house. Michelle's gone. Like, the reason I would wake up in the morning is not there. And I'm not sure if Mel was the first one to say this, but very early on, Mel said something like, when you lose your spouse, the person you turn to for help in grieving is the person you're grieving. And it's like, losing my mind. I was like, what's this life coach thing? What? Tell me more. So I went and hired a couple of life coaches, and the topic was, what do I do with the rest of my life? What's the point? What's the point of showing up? How do I deal with this? Because life is a dumpster fire. After someone passes, and you both know this, not only is there the logistics of funerals and headstones and yada, yada, yada. But there's report cards and kids and taking dogs to the vet. And life is a dumpster fire long after your person dies. Uh, and it's not always about someone telling you what to do, but helping you figure it out. Um, so, in hiring a couple of life coaches and going through my own soul searching, I realized that coaching was my true calling, even 40 years ago when I was a teenager. Coaching did not exist as an industry 40 years ago, not like what it is today. And I realized, oh my God, this is it. This is the thing where I can help people. This is the thing that fulfills the bedside conversation of what am I going to do to change the world in honor of Michelle and honor her love and help the people who are suffering. And coaching was it. So I went through the whole journey of education and certification, and I've been a life coach for many years. And it's the most fulfilling thing in the world is helping people.
I can't believe we didn't know this
I
until
can't believe either.
today. So, how many years has it been since you were certified and started coaching professionally?
I started coaching professionally 3 years ago, and the certifications came along that way. Only because you put in the time for education and other certification programs. But in reality, I had been living with the mindset of a coach my whole life of helping others. One of my biggest values is service to a greater cause, whether it's a person or a thing or an idea. So I'd been doing it my whole life, but getting paid for it. It's actually been 4 years now. Now, if I think about it and do the math, it's been about 4 years. Yeah.
Do you mostly help people who are caregivers of somebody with a terminal illness?
That is one area of focus. That is my specialty, but that's not the only thing I do. I help people who are caregivers. I've helped grievers, after death. I really focus on people who are in a leadership role who have a crisis elsewhere in their life. And it can be any leadership role. It's a funny thing. I was thinking about this the other day, and leaders aren't just about you work in a company. You're some corporate executive. A leader can be a band leader. A leader can be a mom of 4 kids. Anita, I was even thinking about you. It's on Team Anita, you're the chief operating officer making all the logistical decisions, chief revenue officer making the money, chief financial officer making all the financial decisions, chief legal officer making, solving all the fights, right?
Chief referee. That's what I
Right.
think.
You're the whole C-suite. And Mel, you're the same thing. I mean, family, dogs, all the stuff you've had going on in your life. Everybody has their own C-suite of what they have to do and like what they have to hold on their shoulders. And when you're hit with a curveball that's huge, like a big crisis, you need help. So I help everybody. It's the sweet spot of like my passion is helping people who are caregivers, but I help everybody, whether they need coaching at work, coaching at home, or a blend of both.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, this new person in your life, well, new to us, where did meeting her fall in place with your coaching journey?
So I met her at the same time that I started the coaching process, sort of the process of transitioning. So I did a lot of education and professional development on the tail end of a corporate career. So we met sort of towards the beginning of my coaching journey.
I wonder if you had to do some self-coaching to be
Mm-hmm.
ready to meet a new person. Was the meeting of this person, was it intentional or was it like just happened upon each other, or were you actually like searching or wanting to date at that point in time?
Jen was wanting to date. I was wanting to get out and meet people, like have a female companion of either friendship or more. and we met accidentally on, I shouldn't say accidentally, we met on Bumble.
Okay, that's not accident. You had to put yourself on Bumble. You
I
don't trip
yes,
into Bumble.
I put myself out
Okay.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
But I was very laid back about it. I was like, oh my God, I have to, I was not, oh my God, I want to find somebody. I was more like, I'm going to enjoy the company of friendship, and hopefully a friendship blossoms into something more.
Yeah. Okay. Was it difficult to put yourself out there, or was it pretty easy because you kind of kept the stakes low?
I think it was easy because I kept the stakes low. Uh, yeah. And I had this mindset of, with Michelle, I used to say, I found the love that philosophers and theologians postulate and pontificate about. I found that once with Michelle. That makes me the luckiest man alive. If I find it again, I'm going to be the double luckiest man alive. So putting it in the context of, I've already had the greatest love in the world. If that's it forever, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But if I find it again, great. So yeah, I kept it very relaxed, very, very relaxed. And as a man, I'm also very self-sufficient. So I know a trap that a lot of men get into, and I apologize for generalizing this a little bit, but they're not as domesticated as I am.
They're more feral.
A little bit, a little bit. My mother did a very good job of domesticating me. So when it came to finding a mate, it was about love and nothing else. I could fully take care of myself.
Good job,
Yeah,
Dennis.
good job, Mom and Dennis.
Okay, so you guys met, and tell us a little bit about that and how it's fit into your feelings of grief and how you guys manage all of that.
Yeah. So the fun story was, uh, you know, I had swiped on her picture. She came across my profile. I'll send you guys a photo of the profile that I put up, but it was a picture of me and Winston high-fiving.
Oh,
Um, it's epic. When you see the photo, you'll be like, oh yeah, I can see why Jen swiped right on that one. And we met and we just started to chat and talk, and did a ton of chatting. And we just started dating, and things fell into place. Yeah, how did it all work together? I think the biggest thing that helped in the beginning was, I had this standard of, if I'm going to date someone or get to know them, I'm going to ask hard questions, right?
what?
Not like, what's your favorite color? More like, what's
What's
your
your favorite
biggest pet?
cheese?
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Uh, like, what's your biggest pet peeve and why? What are things that you cannot forgive? I have a whole laundry list of questions. I think I posted it in the group a few years back, but it's really hard stuff. Like, what's the most important lesson your previous relationship taught you? And someone who could articulate who they are and what's inside their heart and their brain was really important for me. And Jen was able to do that. She did that really well.
Okay. Were you able to answer those questions back for her?
Every single one of them.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why she's like, oh yeah, I like this guy, because he can actually share his feelings and thoughts in more than one sentence. We dated for about a year and a half, and we got married and moved in together, and it's been a fun, wild ride ever since. Yeah, and she's a professional consultant. She does great work in the nonprofit space. Super smart, loves Winston. Extra points for that. Loves Paloma the cat. Extra points for that. Came from immigrant parents like myself. Extra points for that. Yeah, it's all a huge winner.
How has it been for you both to have had Michelle and Michelle's presence? Has it been easy? Have there been any, I mean, easy, that's like the dumbest thing to say, but how smooth has the sailing been with integrating Michelle and the fact that she was a big part of your life into your relationship, your current one?
It's had its ups and downs. if I'm being completely honest. There have been times where the grieving for me has been really heavy and difficult to share. There are times where it's not been difficult to share. She has, she accepts the fact that a lot of the good stuff about me as a person is because of Michelle. So it's like, it's a win. But there's been moments that have been tough for her. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. But the most important thing is that we have been pretty good, her better than me, but we've been pretty good about communicating about it, right? When something gets in the way, we speak up. We have to speak up. If we just ruminate over it, then it gets messy.
Are some of the hard thing, and I don't know if these are the circumstances or not, but if you're having some sad moments, is it hard for her to see you sad and to also be here in the present and be like, but I'm here also, so doesn't that help minimize your grief? Is that a part of any of some of the difficulties? Because I often wonder, it's like, grief just comes up and it's like you could have a great situation around you and grief's so insane it doesn't even have to be logical, and I would imagine that that would be hard for a partner to you know be the one that's like, but I'm here and I'm alive, and doesn't some of that help? Does that even make sense how I ask that? I don't know.
It does. Yes, it actually makes perfect sense. Because as human beings, we grieve differently in different kinds of moments. So I'll have grief moments where I will be very stoic, right? And it's just what I feel in that moment. And then I'll have grief moments where I'm more expressive. So, the important thing is if I'm having a grief moment, to at the very minimum, tell Jen I'm having a grief moment. And then how we work through it at that moment in time, well, that's unique, right? So we work through it and with it. But for Jen, the most important thing is, for her to know that if I'm having a grief moment, like, just say I'm having a moment. It's not her job to fix it. I do not want her to fix it, right? This is for me to process. It's just unique to me. Everyone's different. But at least if I'm having a moment, acknowledge it. Put it on the table and say, I'm having one of those moments. And then we figure it out right there on the spot.
Is Jen a divorced person, a widowed person, a single before she met you person?
She is divorced.
Okay. I always
Yeah.
think it's so interesting how those two experiences colliding together, it's, I don't know, it's got to be disorienting for them. And it's probably disorienting for you too, because like the attitudes that you come in with are probably pretty different because divorce is often acrimonious and there's kind of yucky feelings. And, Michelle was your sun, your moon, and your stars. And so it's a strange dynamic to try and meld that together when you're coming from two separate, different places.
It is. It is. And it kind of depends on the dynamics of the relationships, of the different relationships. Who in the divorce, who left who, what were the circumstances of separation. In the widowhood, I mean, we've all seen that some marriages end in widowhood and they weren't great. Some were fantastic. So
Yeah.
it just depends on the dynamics. To Jen's credit, also, she's a huge book reader. So she read a bunch of books on widowhood. So she took the initiative to say, okay, I'm dating a widower. What's here? And did her own homework and research. So I have to give her a ton of credit for doing that as well.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's some good books out there. There's some matza matza, but in the end, at least getting some sort of information about it.
Yeah.
So to her credit, she was awesome about that. Yeah.
Dennis, I have a question that's completely unrelated and it's going to be a little bit of a turn, but You talked about finding us, about 6 months in and really just like needing some of those stories. Did you find that the stories that came from widowers were more helpful for you? Like, did you crave to hear more men's stories, or did it not matter? Was it just anybody who'd lost their person?
For me, it was anybody who lost their person. It was nice to hear a men's story, but hearing the stories from the female perspective were just as important. Um, because at the end of the day, in modern society, everybody has unique circumstances. So every story was valuable. One thing I did find was that I was in a few widower groups, like men's only groups, and there was a couple of times where, I put a question. It's like, "Hey guys, how do you deal with this?" And some of the feedback was like locker room brutal. I was like, "This sucks." Um, these guys are like, "Oh, get over it. You'll be fine. Pack it up." And I was like, "Oh no, 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 I've been around on this earth long enough to know that when you stick it in the bottle and bury it, that's just a time bomb." Right. So really having more of this presence of the widows, I thought was fun. But and this group is incredibly caring. This is a super compassionate, loving group. The female stories were just as important.
It just continually amazes me. And I kind of wonder if we're like diving more into this right now is, like the whole manosphere, like gotta be tough, we don't have feelings, we don't get to, be sad or anything like that. I just think like, guys, no, like everybody has emotions and, I've got three sons and it's hard and I'm trying to teach them that it's okay to honor your feelings and to let yourself feel those. And also you can't punch your brother, but or kick a hole in the wall. But like, yeah, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to, feel lonely and express that you feel lonely and not blame other people for you being lonely. It's just it's a great time to be alive, is what I'm saying.
Yes, and the most important thing is, our society says about men, it's like, "Oh, you got to be tough and blah blah blah. You gotta, right, put on all this exterior." But the truth is, the scariest thing in the world is the boogeyman in your head that you're trying to bottle up. So the greatest form of courage is to confront that boogeyman in your head, right? And put a face on it and a name to it and step up and say, "I got the courage to deal with the thing that frightens me the most."
Yeah. Um, okay, next, almost the most important question, but it is very important. Do you have a sourdough starter?
I do not.
Is that against the law if you live in San Francisco? Shouldn't you be making your own sourdough?
Mm-hmm.
I should, but I try to stay away from carbs.
Oh,
I'm more of a vegetable.
kimchi.
Bread is one of my vices. Like,
Hmm.
bread to me is like chocolate cake to some other people. So I have to be very careful. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You told us about your wife dying, and I'm more sad about your lack of
Oh my
just
gosh, Anita.
sourdough bread.
Wait. I think you can make this better for Anita, Dennis, if you tell her that maybe you could find her a starter.
Yeah, I mean, I want everybody to love sourdough. It's my favorite.
I love sourdough so much. It's like I actually can eat a whole loaf of it in 1 week.
Yeah,
And I did that for a couple months
yeah.
recently. Yeah.
If you come to San Francisco, I will take you out to get the best sourdough bread.
Okay, deal.
I'll take you to shops that sell nothing but cheese, and I'll take you to the mountain bike museum.
Is this
What?
heaven? Okay. All
And
right,
the John Muir Park too, right?
Yeah, Mount Tam. I'll take you to Mount Tam, where I was mountain biking in the '80s
awesome.
with the guys that invented mountain biking.
Yeah, that was when you had solid fork, no suspension. You might have had like a spring in the handlebars or something. We've come
Not
up
even
with.
that.
We also have not only just podcast listeners, but people who have been on the podcast that are from the same area. So, because we've been
Hmm.
promised this
Have we?
situation of sourdough stores and chocolate before. So, I don't know, maybe
Got to get
we
Oh,
could
ourselves
go
out there.
there.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah. So,
Nice.
uh, so if I may to go back to your question about men and the whole thing and the whole bottle up thing, at the end of the day, that's another reason why I became a coach, is to help people deal with it, because we all know, as widows and widowers, especially middle age, because my mom was a widow at the time that Michelle passed, right? So the only widows that I knew were like 75, 80
The
years old,
the proper widow age.
Hmm.
proper widow age.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's another reason why I do what I do and show up the way I do is, you're 40 years old, 35, 30, whatever. You lose your person and you're like, holy crap, this wasn't supposed to happen for another 40 years. What do I do
Yeah.
now?
Yep. That's what we're
Yes.
wondering too.
Dennis, if people wanted to work with you, where would they find your information?
I have my website. It's www.consigcoaching.com, short for consigliere coaching, a little Italian twist. All the information is there at my website. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's an audio clip that you click on that properly teaches you how to say consigliere, which
Perfect.
is, right, consigliere. That audio clip is my mom's voice.
Oh,
Aw.
that's kind of
Do you have
cute.
any pictures of Winston also on that same page? I vote that you put him on.
Not on that same page.
Mel, you have to practice internet safety with your children online. You can't just be tossing their picture out there.
You could blur his face.
No, 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 no. You put the emoji in front
Yeah.
of his face and then it'd be fine, like all the celebrities do.
Actually, he's the good looking one. He's the one who got me all the swipes on Bumble. So I'm going to put his face up first.
See? Put a pen in there, man. I love that, like, we didn't even know that you had completely changed careers. And now we're able to offer you to the world. So I'll link to all of that in the show notes, you guys, if you're listening and you want to work with Dennis, who totally gets it. So check out the show notes there, of course. And you can learn how to pronounce Italian words, see a dog with a blurred face, and work with a widower who gets it.
All right, Dennis, we've reached the point where we need to know your favorite cheese. Will you disappoint your mother?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. So this is the funny thing. I discovered in the last couple of years that I'm lactose intolerant. However, thank God for modern pharmaceuticals. So, there's a pill there you can take for when you enjoy cheese. So my favorite cheese in the world is Pecorino Calabrese.
Okay, thank you.
Nice.
I needed it to be a good Italian cheese so that you could,
Yes.
Yeah.
make your
For those listening, Pecorino it's a sheep's milk version. It's kind of like Parmesan. Parmesan's made from cow's milk. Pecorino is made from sheep's milk. And most of the world is familiar with Pecorino Romano, which is made in the Roman region. My family's from Calabria, the toe of the boot,
Oh,
and the cheese it's a little bit moister, a little oilier, and a little bit stronger in flavor. Just like what my grandparents used to bring back from Italy when I was a kid. So
oh man. Lucky.
like
Pecorino
to try that.
Calabrese, yes, visceral for me. I smell it, I taste it. It's like this is the taste of joy on earth.
Fantastic. Well, Dennis, thank you for joining us today and sharing your story. We really appreciate you. Dennis is in the Widow Wives Club, so you can always check him out there. That made it sound like a different kind of check him out. You can converse with him and get more of his wisdom in the Widow Wives Club.
But
He is
check out
taken.
his site
Yeah.
for coaching.
Yes. Yes. If our listeners would like to keep the podcast going, will you check out our Patreon? It helps us to pay for all the stuff that has to be paid for with the podcast. It's patreon.com/WWDN. Dennis is a patron.
Yep. Thank you, Dennis, for supporting us. We couldn't do it without you and with all the other people who are on Patreon, and also the people who are so kind and they donate tacos to us at buymeacoffee.com/widow we do now.
And we always love a nice rating and review. It really helps people to find us. So you can consider doing that as well. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Dennis.
And we're just two young widows and one domesticated widower. And we're all just trying to figure out widow.
We
do now.
Perfect.
Mel, can you please tell me how you feel about therapy?
I am so grateful for therapy. I do therapy every single week.
Do you think it's a great tool in the widow's toolbox?
I sure do. I think it's a great tool in anybody's toolbox. And I am so glad that I have stuck with it because as time goes on, there are more things that I am able to learn about myself. That goes for anything from healing from the death of my husband to childhood things to trying to get outside and be social or trying to address my own certain personality. So yeah, it's really been helpful for me.
We have so many people in the Widow Wives Club who have started using BetterHelp and have amazing reviews. It takes away so many of the barriers to getting great therapy.
I know one of the things that's hard for people, and we get this question a lot, it's I need a therapist that does XYZ. Who's a therapist that is going to be widow friendly? And I know that is so hard to find. When I did therapy that was not on this online platform, it was hard. And it's kind of trial and error, kind of like a new medication, honestly, like a new antidepressant. And the way that BetterHelp is set up is it's easy to find somebody that has your specific needs as part of their expertise. And you know what? If you get into a couple of sessions with that person and it's not a good fit, it's so easy to change. You can ask some of our friends in the Widow Wives Club. They've changed therapists and gotten one that has been a better fit for them. Well, a lot of them are lucky with who they get first time. I am so grateful for mine. I love her so much, and it's literally changed my life for the better.
This is amazing. So if you guys are wanting to add therapy to your toolbox or need a change in who you're seeing right now, consider checking out BetterHelp. They're one of our sponsors. If you go to trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month of therapy if you sign up with BetterHelp. And let me tell you, the day that I was in the hospital with my dad when he was dying, I was able to instant message with my therapist, and she checked on me all throughout the week. And I was not available for video sessions for a lot of those times because there were things we were dealing with, like mortuary stuff, and I was still able to be in contact with her. So they're very, very responsive, caring. It's such a great platform, and I recommend it to anybody who is looking for therapy.
Once again, it's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
And that's for 10% off your first month of online therapy.
You don't even have to wear pants, Mel.
I know this.
First-hand experience.
You can even wear a onesie.
Or a twosie.
Ooh, scary. All right, bye!